Hello everyone, welcome to Wellness with Joni. I am Joni. I have been on a mission to help empower more and more people to navigate forward and find their path in life and find their authentic self. So I am starting a mini series on narcissism. Some of you know my story. I have unfortunately had, I think I pinpointed about 4 narcissists in my life. I was not aware of what narcissism was. I learned a very, very painful lesson. And then, however it came about, I've had 4 different types of narcissists. So it's very sneaky. You will feel like they're the most amazing person out there, and then you see a whole nother side to them, which a lot of people never see that in the person unless they're more intimately involved. It's very interesting. It's very it's sad and it's sick, but I feel bad also for the narcissist. I've had many people say, why, Joni, why? It's a horrific form of abuse, and I totally agree, and I wish I could say I did not know what that was like firsthand, but coming back stronger and wanting to empower and encourage more people and educate more people. But the why, because they are a precious person and they have a lack of really a whole sense of self, so they will latch on to whoever they can get their narcissistic supply from. It's really sad, and the way I've learned it more is it's like, well, Rebecca Zung put, they're just like an empty shell of a person, and that made me sad for them. But anyway, so this is never to put people down, it is to educate people. We will be going through today what is narcissism and a few little pointers on that, and then I will be getting into what is love bombing, what is gaslighting, and how do you find your way forward. So there'll be tips and whatnot throughout different videos in this series. Today is on the traits of narcissism. So I'm going to be reading off of some information off of a clinical therapist that wrote on narcissism. It's, let's see, traits of narcissism. It's easy to describe someone who spends a bit too much time talking about his or her job, business, or career, who never seems to doubt himself as a narcissist. But the trait is more complicated than that. Narcissism does not necessarily represent a surplus of self-esteem or insecurity. Often they show up as like a very secure, confident person, but also they can tone it down when, depending on their audience, basically, if that makes sense. More accurately, it encompasses a hunger for appreciation and admiration, and a desire to be the center of attention, and an expectation of special treatment reflecting perceived higher status. And that is different than learning to embrace and receive healthy compliments, or owning your path and your journey in life, but in a very humble way. So it's very different. A narcissist thrives on supply. They will go to great lengths to get that supply, and when they're not getting it or can't get that from somebody, they will sadly get to where they are devaluing them and then discredit them and discard them, but we'll get more into that different day. Anyway, so they have an expectation of special treatment reflecting perceived higher status. Interestingly, research finds many highly narcissistic people often readily admit to the awareness that they are more self-centered. A high level of narcissism, not surprisingly, can be damaging in a romantic or family or professional relationships. You don't always see those. Sometimes it can take a very long time for somebody to see or to start go, oh, something's just kind of off with the person, or you may feel it in your body or something. So how do I spot a narcissist? Narcissism is characterized by a grandiose sense of self-importance, a lack of empathy for others. Now, they can appear that they empathize. The ones that I had in my life at first seemed very caring and loving. And of course, because if they weren't, I would not have allowed them in my life, would have wished them well. But they have a need for excessive admiration and the belief that one is unique and deserving of special treatment. If you encounter somebody who consistently exhibits these behaviors, you may be dealing with a highly narcissistic individual. And then trying to think of the other part. This comes up, like, does a narcissist know they're a narcissist? If you wonder whether someone's a narcissist, it might be best to just ask them. It's generally assumed that people either don't realize that they're a narcissist or deny it to avoid a challenge to their identity. They don't want to be exposed, so they will cut you off if you're picking up on things that they may be a narcissist, or you're not giving them their supply. But in research using the so-called single item narcissist scale, people who answered affirmatively to single questions, are you a narcissist, were far more likely than others to score high on the narcissism on the 40 question narcissistic inventory. So anyway, that's just kind of a bunch of jargon. But I remember one time when I was starting to suspect, this was several years back, that somebody in my personal life was a narcissist. And this was before I even knew what's a narcissist. But things were not adding up. And some of my family members said, do you think he's a narcissist? I'm like, no, because I thought that was just like a real arrogant person. And this person seemed humble, and they could quote the Bible with me. They wanted to watch church services with me. They wanted to do great things in the world to help, people in need. And so it was really interesting when I started to research, like, what's narcissism? And I went down a checklist and I just cried. I went, oh my goodness, this person has 8 of the 10 characteristics. So I literally went to him and said, I'm concerned. I think you're a narcissist. And he said, no. I'm like, how do you know? And he's like, oh, I already looked into that. Well, that should have been my clue that somebody else probably had told him that he's a narcissist. But anyway, and we shouldn't go around calling people a narcissist or putting people down, but I think it's so important to be educated on what a narcissist is. There are 3 different categories of narcissists, different types in there, and it can be very deceiving because often, I used to be in a support group when I was educating myself on what is narcissism, and there were lots of people, wonderful people, that were just like, they had their family members and friends turn their back on them, and they said, what is wrong with you? He or she, they're such a nice person. Why don't you want to be with them? And how heartbreaking is that for the victim of a narcissist? In my case, I'm very, very grateful and very blessed that people could see through that without me having to say anything. And they didn't come to me and, they would just lift me in prayer and hope that I was doing okay or whatever. But even with some of the family members of a few of those people, they they knew, one of them said, oh, we had hoped that when he found you, he'd turn his life around because you're the type of person we've been praying for him to have. And I thought, oh my goodness, why didn't they forewarn me? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Don't be discouraged. It's not your fault if you are currently going through having somebody that's a narcissist in your life. We'll be talking about, like I said, different pieces of this, and then get to the point where it is, how do you find yourself find your way forward, heal from this, and realize that you are going to be okay, and you are okay, and you don't let anybody define you. You get to define you and bring forth your gifts, talents, and abilities. All right, until next time, and always much love and blessings, Joni.